Welcome back to Devos with Danny. I'm filming today from my new apartment, from my room in my new apartment. Due to the governor's orders, we're just trying to be extra safe, and so we're trying to have as few people as possible at the office over this next couple weeks. So I'm going to be filming these from my room and my room desk. So you'll be getting to see a little bit more of my house, and maybe I'll do a tour. I don't know. We'll see. But that aside, let's get started with our Devo today. Today I'm going to be taking a look at James chapter 2, starting in verses 14 and going on through to the end of 26. So James 2, starting in verses 14, going on to the end of verses 26. So with that being said, I'm just going to dive right in, read this out, and we'll talk about some impressions that we get. All right. Dear brothers and sisters, what's the use of saying you have faith if you don't prove it by your actions? That kind of faith can't save anyone. Suppose you see a brother or sister who needs food or clothing, and you say, well, goodbye and God bless you. Stay warm and eat well. But then you don't give that person any food or clothing. What good does that do? You see, faith isn't enough just to have faith. Faith that doesn't show itself by good deeds is no faith at all. It's dead and useless. Now, someone may argue some people have faith and others have good deeds, and I say, I can't see your faith if you don't have good deeds, but I will show you my faith through my good deeds. Do you still think that it's enough to just believe that there is one God? Well, even the demons believe this, and they tremble in terror. Fool, when will you ever learn that faith does not result in good deeds? That does not result in good deeds is useless. Don't you remember that our ancestor Abraham was declared right with God because of what he did when he offered his son Isaac on the altar? You see, he was willing to trust God so much that he was willing to do whatever God told him to do. His faith was made complete by what he did, by his actions. And so it happened, just as the scriptures say. Abraham believed God, and so God declared him to be righteous. He was even called the friend of God. So you see, we are made right with God by what we do, not by faith alone. Rahab the prostitute is another example of this. She was made right with God by her actions when she hid those messengers and sent them safely away by a different road. Just as the body is dead without the spirit, so also faith is dead without good deeds. So in this section of James is talking about the importance of good deeds when you consider faith, and how faith leads to a life of living the way Jesus asks us to live in his book, right? A life of good deeds. Now, a lot of people throughout history have had a problem with the way James sees this. Famously, Martin Luther wrote in a letter to somebody, he said that James was a right strawy epistle, meaning it didn't have much substance. And as a result, he actually put James at the very back, right in front of Revelation, because he said, this isn't as important of a book. And I think what Luther got wrong here is that James is not saying, for Martin Luther, it was sola fide, it's through faith alone can you be saved, right? And James isn't disputing that. James is just saying, hey, look, part of faith, part of what it means to have faith is to have good works. So he starts off and he says, look, faith without works is dead. And he uses the example of somebody who walks up to a man who's homeless and has no food and is cold and says, hey, go with God. I hope you have food. I hope you have something to eat. I hope you have a home and some clothes to keep you warm. Goodbye, and go with God. And that's all he says. Well, that doesn't help the homeless person much, does it? What would help the homeless person is if you gave that homeless person food and something to wear and maybe a home or a place to stay. In the same way, faith without having any kind of legs attached to it, without having any kind of actions associated with faith, is pretty useless. Just like those words that I said to the homeless man about how I hope he stays warm and well fed, it means nothing to the homeless guy unless I can give him food and clothing to stay warm. In the same way, faith, unless you can do something to demonstrate your faith, it doesn't mean a ton. James then goes on to say, look, you can say you have faith, and I can say, look, let me show you my faith through the good works that I do. Faith itself is the baseline, but our faith, right? And don't get me wrong, again, we are saved. Our relationship with Jesus is started and based on our faith, right? Our faith in him, our faith in what he did, his death and resurrection, our faith in the fact that we believe he's going to take us and wants to have a relationship with us and take us to heaven with him, right? All of that is the foundation of our relationship with God, right? But if we have that relationship with God is going to change us and is going to lead to us living our lives differently. Again, and I'm not talking about here that we have to be perfect all the time. Obviously, we're not going to be perfect. We're broken, fallen people, right? We're full of sin still, and I mess up all the time, right? That's going to be a part of what I do. That's going to be a part of my life is sometimes messing up, but James is not saying that if you mess up once or twice, you're toast. He's saying, look, there's a difference between messing up and saying, hey, I'm trying to live my life for God, versus saying, hey, I believe Jesus is God. I believe in God. I have faith, and I can live my life however I want to. And it doesn't affect the way you live. You don't really make an effort to change. You don't really make an effort to live by his laws. Like, that's really different. You see the difference there? One, you're trying to live according to what the Bible says, and then the other, you just don't care. And what James is saying, look, if you're living like you don't care, then obviously your faith hasn't had an effect on you. And then he closes it out with two examples, right? He says, look, so two people who we look to as examples of faith put that faith into practice through their works, right? We have Abraham, who demonstrated his faith, right? He believed in God. He had faith in God. He trusted God, and he demonstrated that trust by being willing to sacrifice Isaac. He took Isaac up to the altar. He pulled out his knife. He was getting ready to kill Isaac because he believed that God would bring Isaac back to life again. We have Rahab, who's willing to lay her life on the line as a traitor to her city of Jericho in order to save the Jewish spies, because she believed that God was superior to her city government and that she was not going to stand in the will of God. And so she was willing to brand herself a traitor to that city in order to serve God, right? That was her faith in God, was the backbone, the foundation of that. But then her actions demonstrated how much she trusted God. If you want to think about it this way, it's in a lot of ways, faith is like wind, right? It's there, it's operating, it's happening, it's there, but you can't feel it, you can't touch it, you can't see it. But you do see the branches waving, right? You do see the grass swaying. You feel the wind as it blows across your face. You see people's hair get tousled by the wind. And if you want to think about it, faith is the wind. It's there, it's in the background, right? You believe Jesus. You have a relationship with Jesus. That faith is the background. But when you look, your good works are like the rustling tree branches, right? Your life being affected by the wind, being affected by the faith. It's the swaying of the grass. It's that feeling, that cool feeling you get on your cheek when the wind blows across your face, right? That's what good works are to faith, right? Faith is the wind, and good works are the moving of the tree branches that let you know that faith is there. So my challenge to you today is take a look at your life, right? Has your relationship with Jesus, has that faith with Jesus changed the way you live? Has it changed the way you talk to people and interact with your friends, your family? Has it changed your outlook on life? Is your relationship with Jesus changing you and changing the way you live and changing the way you act? Because if it's not, I don't know, maybe you need to re-examine that and rededicate yourself to that relationship with God. Anyway, that's what I've got to say today. Miss you guys. I hope you stay safe, and I will see you again tomorrow.